have here limits and continuity. So this will be an introduction or an introduction topic for calculus or for the main topic, which is the calculus or derivatives and integral. So for the limits and in derivatives, so they are defined with this equation. So the limit is limit of function of x is just equal to a when x approaches to a. Okay, so it means that for every value of x, it approaches nearly to the value of
A.
a. Okay, so purpose for getting the limit of the function is in order to determine if that equation or that behavior of a certain one equation um, really exists or this does not exist. Okay, so also limits also reveal the real behavior of a function near a certain point of example for the certain value of a or x, so as it approaches to a, and there are also some functions which cannot be solved by using or by us directly substituting the value of a. Okay, so there are some techniques that we will be encountering and we will be introduced with such mga methods. Okay, so one of the method is when you will be simplifying the function, the equation, or maybe when you will be doing some kuan, kanang when you will be doing some kanang imong i-rationalize ang denominator, isa po na siya na one, and also kana pong imo ang i-differentiate. Pero since we are not yet introduced with differential equation differential calculus, so we will not be it will not be applicable muna for this at this moment. Okay, but later on if we will know your differential calculus, so some of the equation can be solved directly by differentiating. So mo na siyang ang limits are introduced here in calculus since they are part of the solution. Okay? Sige. So one of the characteristic is so since 'di ba fx is there are two 'di ba two values which is the x and y
Y.
variable. So for every value of x there is also a corresponding value of y. So therefore this is equal to fx. Then ang isa sa isa sa point pod aning limits is that in order to define the boundary or the kung ahara bitaw taman something like mo siya gitawag siya og limit. So something like yeah, endpoints or some murag inana. Okay? So since there are also a lot of values of x for a given equation, so there are also a lot of values of y for every equation value of x. Okay? So also is continuity. So when we define continuity, so a single valued function fx is said to be continuous at a value a of its domain provided, where dapat these three characteristics should be what? Should be
FA.
satisfied. Okay, so for example, number one, which is f of a, is defined, of course. So number two is limit of f of x exists at when x is approaches to a. So if dili siya kuan define or dili siya ma-identify or wala siya value for every value of a, so this is not a continuous function. And also, if limit of f of x tapos x to the x approaches to a, kung na siya yung equivalent value, therefore this equation also is a continuous function. Okay? Then also lastly is this the same ra siya. Combine lang niya ang duha. So which is limit of f of x is just equal to f of a when x is approaches to a. So since x is just you will just have to replace the value of x into a. So
Ha?
this should be equal or approximately equal
Balo.
lang siya. Okay?
Umba
It's
bitaw
not
na.
necessarily that they are equal or equal values, but it is approximately equal when x approaches to a. Okay? So if fx is continuous at each point of an interval, it is said to be continuous on the interval. So kung dili ni one of these characteristics will not be satisfied, therefore this is a continuous function. Okay? So there are also three theorems of limits. So the three theorems of limits, first the first theorem is for the summation. So what is the summation? So it says that the limit of the sum of two or more function is equal to the sum of their limits. So for example, for the given function, for the given equation, so limit of u of x, u u of x plus v of x is just equal to limit of u of
UX
x
plus
plus limit of v of
VX.
x as x approaches to
A.
a. So you can just simply, pwede na natin mo siya simplify into what? Individually, or kuha mo, i-substitute nimo ang value sa imong limit individually for every term. If naka-addition or even in a subtraction kuan po siya. Okay? So
Sige,
this
foil.
is because this can be applicable both for the addition and subtraction of functions. Okay?
Next step.
Next, we also have our second theorem, which is the limit of the product of two or more functions is equal to the product of their limits. So limit of u of x times v of x is just equal to limit of u of x times limit of v of x as x approaches 0. So, ang term niya is x approaches to 0. Ang kanang sa may arrow niya. Okay, but
Mm.
it didn't reach the value of a. Pa lang siya, nearly the value of a. Okay? So next, we also have the theorem 3, which says that the limit of the quotient of two functions is equal to the quotient of their limits provided the limit of the denominator is not 0. Okay?
Mm.
So Theorem 3 so says that for every limit of two quotient, the quotient of a certain function, so you can just simply limit both numerator and denominator if and only this condition can be satisfied also. So since v of x should not be equal to 0, since nga naman, this will lead us to an undefined value.
Mm.
Okay? Sige. Or it is more it's an infinite number, so more huge amount of number, so it some kind of infinity ang iyang result if v of x can be equal to 0. Okay, so these are the basic theorems of tuan of limits. So for the concept of limits, mura siya kuan lang, it's just mura kag nagkuan lang, nag-assign lang kag there are some given values of x for every given values of y lang. Mura ginana ra gud siya, tapos um it's one way of doing it is in order to identify if the equation exists or does not exist, or until what limit or until what value of some certain value, or as x approaches to a certain number a or some certain number unsa pa na yung value. Okay? So also there are also some topics na atong matakol, which are, so first are methods for calculating the limits, which is when FA is defined and when FA is not defined. And also napod to isa, which is functions defined by more than a single expression. So another also is some one appeal to mga trigonometric and exponential functions and the limits of at infinity. So muna siya yung last topic for limits, and continuity is just more on a concept based topic lang siya. It's just more on identifying if the equation is continuous or not, or not discontinuous. Okay? So for mas masabtanin niyo siya the concept of limits. So let's have first our first example.
Example.
So so far, do you have any question? Do you have any questions, guys? Okay. first example, we are asked to define. Sorry. So first is limit of x plus 2 all over x squared plus 4
or
as x approaches to
two, two,
2. So how will you solve that? So you just have, you can just simply what? Substitute the value of 2 here to the value of x here in the equation. So
two
x
plus
is
two,
2 plus 2 all over 2
two
squared
squared
is 4
four,
plus 4.
four,
It's just equal to 2 plus 2 is 4 over
eight,
8, or just simply equal to
two,
1
four.
half.
Ah, oo,
Okay?
divide.
So the answer is 1 half. So na siya. So you just have to substitute directly the value of every value of x in the equation. So, sayon na siya kay marag mas madali raman siya wala raman kay problem with solving or direct substitution sa imo angkan. So this is a type of function which can be directly, or which f of a is defined. Okay? Next, we also have our second example, which is limit of x plus 2 all over x squared minus 4 as x approaches to
Two,
2. Can you directly just substitute lang ang values? So example, 2 plus 2 is
two,
2
four,
plus 2 all over 2 squared is 4
minus
minus
four,
4 is just equal to 4
four,
all over 0.
zero,
So what's
zero,
the value of that, guys?
infinite,
4 all over 0.
infinite,
Anyone?
Undefined, sir.
So undefined, or this is just equal to what? For 4 divide 0 or large number is just equal to what? Ah,
infinite,
infinity.
infinity din.
Okay? It's just infinity. Okay? 4 over 0. Ang undefined yun totally is ang katong imong value of 1 is 0 all over 0. Okay? So, mo to siya isa sa undefined values. So, for this case, ang function 4 over 0 is just equal to what? Infinity. Okay? So, therefore, this equation, or the limit of this function f of x, limit of a function as x approaches to 0, approaches to 2, does not exist. Okay? Gets?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next, we also have another example. How about this one? If we will directly sorry.
Zero,
If we will just directly substitute the value 2 minus 2 all over 2 squared is 4 minus 4. What's mahitabo?
Undefined.
infinity.
So this is undefined. So this has no value because you can't
Ay,
divide
siya nga
0
ba?
by a 0 now. So
Undefined.
what is the first thing to do if inana ang case? How will you do that? Or how will you
Factor
solve
out.
that? So, huh?
Factor out
Factor
ang
out?
numbers.
Yes. Yes, correct. So you, since based on what you can observe on the equation, you can factor this x squared minus 4. Since this is a what?
Perfect
X
square.
minus 2. It's not really perfect since
Ah,
x minus 2
x minus
and x
x
plus
plus 2.
2 can be the factor of this
Four.
function of this
Oo.
function equation, right? So first is you can factor out x squared, so factor out 4. So x times x and x times 2 and 2. So you just have to designate the sign accordingly in order to resolve with this equation. Okay? So since, as you can see, x minus 2 and x minus 2 can be cancelled out,
Cancelled.
right? So therefore, the remaining function is now 1 all over x plus 2. So you can now substitute directly, which is 1 over 2 plus 2 is just equal to 1
One over
fourth.
four.
So the answer is, for every x approaches to 2 is 1 fourth. Okay? So mo na siya first na kuha ninyo, guys. So you have really to review your what? Your algebra sa factoring. So especially kato na mga complex na mga factoring niya. And also diri pod magamit po ang partial fraction. Uban. Okay? So you really have to simplify it kay base usahay it's mawat ka usahay nga dili day siya pwede ra pa day siya ma-factor para ma-cancel out ang numerator na value so that you can have a real number answer. Okay? Let's proceed with another example. Number
Sir, pwede
4.
yung makasuggest, sir. Kanang
Yes?
example, sir, kanang kuan mas difficult nga example, sir.
Yes, papunta pa ta. Ako lang gi-introduce ang sinugdanan.
Saan ka punta?
Okay, sir.
So, okay, let's have another example. Number 4.
T, anong T naman na? Eh, factor sa nimo. Para makuha cancel. Cancel dyan.
Okay, let's have this example. So, limit of t as t approaches to 3. Okay.
Factor.
So first we have t squared minus 6t plus 9 all over t squared minus 2t minus 3 as t approaches to
3.
3. So if you will substitute the value of 3 directly, so 3 squared, 9 minus 2 times 3 is negative 6. So negative 9, negative 9 is 0. So the same with the scenario sa babaw, negative 18
3.
and 3 squared 9, 9 plus 9, 18. So you will the same get up what? An undefined value which will lead if imo ang diretso siyang kuan substitute sa value sa t which is equal to 3.
Six,
So ang kuan resulting value sa numerator is 0
seven,
and the
eight,
same with
nine,
the
10, 11, 12,
denominator
13,
will
14,
result with an
15.
answer of 0 which is undefined. So the same procedure you would really have to do factor out factoring. Okay? So first, you have to factor this one. So what's the possible factor?
T.
So t times 3.
T.
So it can be
3.
3 times 3, right? 3
Mm.
times 3 to
Plus
result the answer of 6. Tapos, positive and
negative,
negative
positive.
is just equal to what?
Negative, positive.
So you really have to, this is a what? Perfect square.
Perfect square. Mao na.
Yes. Then all over t
T.
squared minus 2t minus 3. So the possible factor are t times t. So what's the
1.
possible factor of 3? It's 3 times 1 or, di ba? Wala lain. So 3, 3 and 1. So you have a negative sign
Positive,
here. So
negative.
you possible the largest number should contain the negative value. Okay? Then positive 1. Okay? Then
Mm.
after that, you can now cancel
Cancel.
out the values of numerator and the denominator. So the
So,
remaining
minus 3.
function will be t minus 3 all over t plus 1. So now you can directly substitute the value of t, which is what?
T.
3 minus 3 is just equal to
3 plus 4.
3
1.
plus 1, or
0.
0 over
0. 4.
4 is just equal to 0.
0.
Okay? So the answer is just equal to 0. Okay, let's have another example. So in other words, you guys, you just have to review your unsa man yung
Algebra.
ang factoring or algebra. Actually, ma-calculator ni siya pero di sa ta mo tudloan sa calculator technique ani. Hmm? Hmm? 3 years. Next, we also have x minus 16 all over square root of x minus 4. So the same procedure, if you will direct, first is you have to, if you have to directly substitute the value of x, so 16 minus 6, the square root of 16 is 4, minus 4 is 0, so 16 minus 16 is just equal to 0.
0.
So 0 all over 0 is undefined. So what's the first thing that you will do in terms of inani? Pag inana siya.
Cancel square root 16 and square root 16 for 7.
Realization,
Anyone?
sir.
Ha?
You kana rush like rationalization, sir, like i-multiply ang numerator's opposite, sir, like square root of x plus 4.
Yes,
Like,
correct. Okay, very good.
put sa
So
term.
it's rationalizing the denominator. Okay? So you just have to, pag mag-involve na ganing mga radical sign, guys, you just have to, tapos dili na siya ma-factor, your second choice is factoring, right? So pag dili na siya ma-factor, you have to rationalize the denominator. What do you mean by rationalizing the denominator? It means that you have to eliminate the radical sign in the denominator na imo ang denominator sa equation. So how will you eliminate the radical sign in your denominator? So you have to multiply it by what? Square root of x plus 4 all over square root of x
Man,
plus 4. Or just simply you're just multiplying a value of 1, right? Okay, x plus 4 all over x plus 4 is just equal to 1. You just have to eliminate the radical sign. So by eliminating the radical sign, so x times square times x times square root of x is what? Value of
X.
x. Tapos square root of x times 4 is positive 4 square root of x. Tapos negative 4 times square root of x is minus 4 square root of x. Negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. Ito sa reason ha. Then the same procedure with, sa babaw, x times square root of x is x square root of
X.
x. X times 4 is positive
Square.
4x. Negative 16 times square root of x, negative 16 square root of x. Negative 16 times 4, pila? Negative, pila pa? 16 times 4, 64. So you have to simplify. So positive 4 squared of x, negative 4 squared of x is just equal to 0 or can be cancelled out. Then the remaining values is x squared of x plus 4x minus 16 square root of x minus 64 all over x minus 16. Okay? Next, what's the next procedure? So you can now substitute the value of
Sir,
x.
nawala imong cam, sir.
Huh?
Dili makita,
Nawala?
sir.
Okay.
Nawala ang focus, sir.
Wait lang ha. How about that one? Kana?
Okay na, sir.
Sure? Okay. So next is you can now substitute the value of x.
X
So
minus 6.
16 square
Square
root
root
of
of
16
16.
minus plus 4 there. Plus 4 times 16 minus 16 square root of 16 minus 64 all over 16 minus 16. Okay?
Cancel.
So what's the next step? Oh, sorry. Sayo ko. My bad. Dili guys. I'm gonna simplify. Balik na dire. Okay? So after one, rationalizing the denominator, so you don't distribute the hining babaw, you have to distribute. So square root of x plus 4 all over what? Square root of katong nabilin diri sa babaw is unsa to? X minus 16, right? Ang katong pag-distribute na to ganiya. So para ma-cancel ning square root of x minus 16 kay kung inyo i-distribute, sorry, inyo lang i-distribute og balik, it will just lead to the same scenario ra gyapon na imo ra gyapon gibalik og inani. So it would be better na imo i-rationalize, then you have to dili lang siya i-distribute ang numerator part so that na siya possible na ma-cancelled out na value. Okay? So, pag ma-cancelled out ang x minus 16, you can now have square root of x plus 4. Or just simply, square root of 6x is just equal to square root of 16 plus 4. Square root of 16 is 4 plus 4 is 8. So, the answer is 8. Sorry. Okay, let's have another example.
Ba nalagay 1 sa taas?
Number 6.
Pastila na.
Okay, so our sixth example, limit of square root of x squared plus 7 minus 4 all over x squared minus 3x as x approaches to
3.
3. So how will you solve that? So first is you have to test. So 3 squared 9. So 9
Negative.
minus 9 is 0. 3 squared is 9 plus 7 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So 0 all over. 0 is undefined. So you have to what? If you will try to do factoring, so dili po siya attainable, which is x, the square root of 3x, so dili siya pwede. And the same, rationalizing the denominator. So what will you do? So you have to rationalize the numerator. Okay? So you have to rationalize the numerator. Pwede na siya, guys. It's not just about rationalizing the denominator. It's also applicable to rationalize the numerator part or yung numerator na equation. So how will you rationalize the equation for the numerator? So you have to multiply square root of x squared plus 7 plus 4 all over square root of x squared plus 7
Plus
plus 4.
4.
Okay? So, so you just have to do the same procedure. So square root of squared plus 7 is square root of x squared of 7 is just equal to x squared plus 7. Tapos, kani times 4. So 4 square root of x squared
4.
plus 7. Tapos minus 4 times kani minus 4 square root of x squared plus 7. Negative 4 times 4, negative
16.
16. Then you just have to retain the value sa imuang
X. Oh.
denominator. So square root of x squared plus 7 plus 4 all over x squared minus 3x. Now, you can cancel this out since 4 minus 4 tapos the same radical sign, you can just cancel them out. Okay? Next, we also have to what? You can now kasi pwede mahimo. So, pwede ni ma-combine which is x squared
Plus
pila
7.
negative
6.
9, right? So, negative 9. Tapos, kani, pwede ni siya ma-factor out. X. So, x minus 3. Di ba? Pwede ma-factor out yung x, ani? So, you can factor out x. So, x minus 3 ang mabilin. Tapos, square root of x squared plus 7. Tapos, plus 4. Okay? Now, x squared minus 9 can also be factored out to x minus
3.
3 and
X plus
x
3.
plus 3. Right? Okay, x times x squared, x times 3x, 3x, negative 3x times x, negative 3x, negative 3 times positive 3, negative 9. So, cancel out negative 3 times positive 3. So, mabilin is x squared minus 9. So, this is the possible factor.
Oo.
Okay, then if kaniyang possible factor, you can have x minus 3 to be cancelled out. So, the
Pag
remaining
X.
value is now what? X
X.
plus 3 all over x times square root of x squared plus 7
Plus
plus 4.
4.
You have to try if pwede na ba siya. So, try
3 plus
substituting the value of x. So, you have
3 plus
3 plus 3
3.
sa babaw, 6 all over
3.
3 square root of 3 squared plus 7 is pila? 16. Square root is, oh sige, di na sa square root. Plus 4. Then you have 6 all over 3. Square root of 16 is 4. Plus 4, 8 times 3 is 20. Pila? 24. So 6 over 24 is just equal to pila? Pwede ba siya masuklan? So by 6 is 1, by 6 is 4. So the answer is 1/4. Okay?
5.
So do you have any questions so far? So that we can proceed with another example. Tatag-lisod-lisod. Questions, guys? Wala? Okay, let's proceed with another example. Number 7.
Pastilana. 1/2 naman.
Okay, number 7 example. Limit of 1 over t square root of t plus 1 din siya. Sorry. T plus 1 minus 1 over t as t approaches to 0.
0. T
So how will you
approaches.
do that? If 1 over 0, so this is infinity. 0, square root of 1, 0, so 0, 0. So infinity ang possible answer. But this can be also be manageable, or this can be also be solved by what? By using, so
Rational.
first is you can combine these two equations, right? So combine like terms. So t squared, square root of t plus 1. So t, so the remaining value, so t squared, square root of t plus 1, divide t square root of t plus 1. So the value, remaining value is t. So times 1 is t. So the report is t. T divide t squared, square root of t plus 1, divide t is just t square root of t plus 1 times 1. So negative t square root of
1.
t plus 1. Next, what's the next step?
Cancel.
You can factor this 1. Okay? So, factor out. So, t,
Squared.
1 minus square root of t plus
1.
1 all over
T.
t squared square root of
T
t
plus
plus
1.
1. Okay? Next step is you have to what? Rationalize the, or first you have to cancel this out. So, cancel. So, the remaining value is 1 minus square root of t plus 1 all over t square root of, sorry, square root of t plus 1. Next, how will you do that? You have to rationalize the numerator or denominator. Which one? It's a numerator
Cancel
or
na, sir.
denominator. Since both numerator and denominator has radical signs. So, which one should you rationalize?
Cancel na nga.
A numerator or denominator? Anyone?
Numerator, sir.
Yes, correct. It's the numerator. Why?
May
Because the
one.
numerator contains of what? Contains two terms. Right? Ang 1 o kaning negative. So, if ang imo ang inyo i-rationalize is ang denominator, it would be very useless. Kay mo, balik ra ka sa imo original na kuan. Okay? So, it would be better that you have to rationalize an equation with two terms. Kaya unsa gito purpose? To eliminate the radical sign. Okay? For the denominator, eliminate mo siya, but mabalik ra ka. Okay? So, it would be very useless. So, it would be better to rationalize by using the numerator. So, 1 minus square root of t plus 1 all over t square root of t plus 1. Then, rationalizing. So, 1 plus
Plus
square root of
t
t
plus
plus
1.
1 all over 1
1 plus
plus square root of t plus 1. Sorry. So, simplify. 1 times 1,
1.
1. 1 minus plus 1, so plus square root of t plus 1. Negative t times kani, so negative square root of t plus 1. Tapos, negative times positive, so negative what? Kaning value sa t plus 1. Ma-eliminate na ang radical sign. Then, kani, so t times square root of, sorry. So, t square root of t plus 1 times 1 plus square root of t plus 1. Okay. So, what's the next step? So, ma-cancel out ni siya. So, mabilin. So,
1.
1 minus t. So, 1 minus t minus 1 all over t square root of t plus 1 times 1 plus square root of t plus 1. Or 1 minus 1 is just equal to pila.
0.
1 minus 1 is equal to
0.
0. So, t now is just equal to t square root of t plus 1 times 1 plus square root of t plus 1. Okay. So, what's the next step? Hmm?
Cancel out ang T.
Ma-cancel out ang
T.
t. Yes, correct. So, you can cancel out t, which is now 1 all over square root of t plus 1 times 1 plus the square root of t plus 1. Okay, next step. You can now try to substitute. So, kita pa ba? Dili na lang. So, you can now try to substitute. So, 1 all over t is 0 plus 1. So, square root of 1 is 1. So, 1 times 1 plus square root of t. So, 0 plus 1 is 1. Square
1.
root, so 1. So, 1 plus 1. So, 1 over
2.
1 plus
1.
1 is 2 times
2.
1. So, 1 over 2. Okay?
That
So,
gets
you
the
have
ball.
now your equation. So, makancel out ang t, then ma-eliminate na yan siya. Okay? So, let's have another example.
Ayun na.
Tatagpuan. Okay, let's just continue tomorrow sa another example na lang. Itaas-taas siya. So, for this one part, do you have any questions? So, you just have to, what? Rationalize and it's either the numerator or denominator Tapos, you can also factor out, or you can simply just directly substitute the value of x if and only if it's possible. Okay?
Okay.
So, do you have any questions? So, we will continue tomorrow by kuan limits na two dimensions na siya, tapos sa pa man to topic guys. Limits na katong nanay mo trigonometric and exponential, then limit involving infinity na pod na value sa x dire kani as x approaches infinity. So how will you solve that? Okay, so tomorrow we will continue our discussion with limits and continuity. So if you have any clarifications, unsa pa man, clarifications, questions, suggestion, so wala.
Wala, sir.